Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science channel. Tonight we'll be exploring the vibrant and fascinating world of parrots. These remarkable birds fill our world with color, intelligence, and wonder. From the smallest parrotlets to the magnificent macaws, parrots captivate us with their beauty and charm. They inhabit tropical forests, mountainsides, and even urban environments. Some speak with human voices, while others perform acrobatic displays through the canopy. The world of parrots is both familiar and full of surprises. Creatures we think we know, yet never cease to amaze. If you enjoy these quiet explorations, I invite you to like and subscribe or share a simple thought down in the comments. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is rest, settle in, and allow the gentle world of parrots to carry you into peaceful sleep. Let's begin. The diversity of parrots. There are more than 390 species of parrots in the world. When you think of parrots, you might picture a bright green bird perched on a pirate's shoulder or a colorful macaw in a rainforest. But the parrot family is extraordinarily diverse. Scientists recognize more than 390 distinct species spread across tropical and subtropical regions of the world. They range from tiny pygmy parrots smaller than your hand to enormous hyacinth macaws with wingspans approaching 4 feet. Some parrots are brilliant green, blending perfectly with forest canopies. Others flash crimson, cobalt blue, or sunshine yellow. A few species wear subtle earth tones that help them hide among bark and branches. Each has evolved to fit its particular corner of the world, developing unique adaptations for feeding, nesting, and surviving. The diversity of parrots reflects millions of years of evolution, each species a testament to nature's creativity. When you see a parrot, you're glimpsing just one thread in an extraordinarily colorful tapestry. Parrots belong to the order Psittaciformes, an ancient lineage. The scientific classification of parrots places them in the order Psittaciformes, a group that has existed for tens of millions of years. Fossil evidence suggests that early parrot ancestors appeared during the age of dinosaurs, though the modern families we recognize today evolved more recently. These birds are part of an ancient lineage that has watched continents drift, climates shift, and countless other species rise and fall. The order Psittaciformes includes not just the true parrots but also cockatoos and the unique New Zealand parrots like the kea and kakapo. Each family branch tells its own evolutionary story. Some adapted to life in dense rainforests, others to arid scrublands or mountain heights. Their shared ancestry connects them all, but millions of years of separate evolution have created the stunning variety we see today. To understand parrots is to glimpse a family tree stretching back through deep time. Colors and feathers. Parrot feathers contain unique pigments that create vibrant colors. The brilliant colors of parrots come from specialized pigments found nowhere else in the bird world. While many birds produce colors through melanins, which create blacks and browns, parrots possess psittacofulvins. These unique pigments generate the intense reds, yellows, and oranges that make parrots so visually striking. The colors are not just on the surface, but infused throughout each feather. Blue coloration in parrots works differently. It's not created by pigment at all, but by the microscopic structure of the feathers. Tiny air pockets scatter light in a way that makes the feathers appear blue, similar to why the sky looks blue. When you combine structural blue with yellow pigments, you get the vivid greens that cover so many parrot species. Every shade you see on a parrot is the result of either chemistry or physics, sometimes both working together in harmony. Some parrots can see colors humans cannot perceive. While human vision is impressive, parrots see even more of the spectrum than we do. They possess 4 types of color receptors in their eyes, compared to our 3. This tetrachromatic vision allows them to perceive ultraviolet light, a range completely invisible to us. What looks like a plain green feather to human eyes might display dazzling patterns in ultraviolet, visible only to other parrots. This hidden world of color plays crucial roles in parrot life. It helps them identify ripe fruits, recognize potential mates, and possibly even communicate in ways we're only beginning to understand. When 2 parrots look at each other, they see details and patterns we cannot imagine. Their world is richer in color than ours, painted in hues that exist beyond our perception. It's a reminder that reality contains more than what we can directly observe. Layers of beauty, hidden just beyond our senses. Parrot feathers require constant maintenance and care. A parrot's brilliant plumage doesn't maintain itself. These birds spend hours each day preening, carefully cleaning and arranging their feathers. Using their beaks like combs, they zip each feather back together, reconnecting the tiny hooks that give feathers their smooth, unified surface. They spread oil from a gland near their tail across their plumage, waterproofing the feathers and keeping them flexible. Preening is more than maintenance. It's a ritual, a meditation. Parrots often preen each other, especially bonded pairs, gently grooming areas the other bird cannot reach. This allopreening strengthens social bonds and builds trust. When you watch a parrot carefully tend its feathers, you're seeing an ancient behavior, a practice honed over millions of years. Each feather is precious, essential for flight, insulation, and display. Without constant care, they would become ragged and ineffective. Molting replaces old feathers with fresh plumage throughout the year. Like all birds, parrots periodically shed their feathers and grow new ones. Unlike some species that molt all at once, most parrots undergo a gradual molt spread across months. A few feathers drop out here and there, replaced by fresh ones that push through the skin. This ensures they're never left unable to fly or inadequately insulated. During molting, parrots may appear slightly scruffy, with new pin feathers emerging like small tubes from their skin. These pin feathers are covered in a protective sheath that eventually flakes away, revealing the new feather inside. The process can be uncomfortable, even itchy, which is why parrots often become more irritable during heavy molts. But once complete, they emerge with pristine plumage, colors bright and feathers perfect. Molting is renewal, a natural cycle that keeps them healthy and flight-ready throughout their lives. Intelligence and problem-solving. Parrots are among the most intelligent birds on Earth. When scientists study animal intelligence, parrots consistently rank near the top. Their cognitive abilities rival those of great apes and dolphins. Parrots can solve complex problems, use tools, understand cause and effect, and even demonstrate something resembling insight. They don't just learn through trial and error, but can reason through challenges in ways that suggest genuine understanding. Research has shown that parrots can perform tasks requiring abstract thinking. They can recognize shapes, understand concepts like same and different, and even grasp basic numerical concepts. Some species can plan ahead, anticipating future needs rather than simply reacting to immediate circumstances. This intelligence likely evolved to help them navigate complex social environments and locate scattered food resources in vast forests. A smart parrot is a successful parrot, better able to survive and thrive. African grey parrots can learn hundreds of words and use them meaningfully. The African grey parrot has become famous for its linguistic abilities. These medium-sized grey birds, with distinctive red tails, can learn vocabularies of hundreds of words. But they don't just mimic sounds. Research has shown they can use words appropriately, understanding their meanings and applying them in correct contexts. The most famous African grey, a bird named Alex, worked with scientist Irene Pepperberg for 30 years. Alex could identify objects, colors, shapes, and materials. He could count, understand concepts like bigger and smaller, and even seemed to grasp the concept of zero. When he wanted something, he asked for it by name. When he was tired of testing, he said, "Want to go back?" requesting to return to his cage. His abilities challenged long-held assumptions about animal minds and language. Some parrots demonstrate the cognitive abilities of young children. Researchers often compare parrot intelligence to that of human children. Studies suggest that the smartest parrot species perform at levels similar to children between 2 and 5 years old. They can solve puzzles that require multiple steps, understand that objects continue to exist even when hidden, and recognize themselves in mirrors, a sign of self-awareness. Parrots can also understand emotional states in others. They recognize when their human companions are happy or sad, and often respond appropriately. This emotional intelligence makes them remarkable companions, but also means they require complex social environments. A bored or lonely parrot is like a bored or lonely child, prone to behavioral problems. Their intelligence is both their gift and their burden, requiring stimulation and social interaction to truly thrive. Parrots can use tools to solve problems and obtain food. Tool use was once considered a uniquely human trait, then was found in apes, and now we know many species use tools, including parrots. In the wild, palm cockatoos have been observed crafting drumsticks from branches, which they use to beat against hollow trees, creating loud sounds to attract mates and establish territories. They select appropriate branches, modify them to the right size, and use them repeatedly. In captivity, parrots have shown remarkable innovation. They've been observed bending wires into hooks to retrieve food from containers, stacking objects to reach higher perches, and using sticks to rake in items beyond their reach. They don't just stumble upon these solutions but appear to think them through, examining problems and testing approaches. Each successful use of a tool demonstrates not just intelligence, but flexibility of thought, the ability to see objects not just for what they are, but for what they could be used to accomplish. Vocal abilities. Parrots are among nature's finest mimics of sound. The ability of parrots to imitate sounds is legendary. They can reproduce human speech with startling clarity, copy the sounds of other animals, mimic musical instruments, and even recreate mechanical noises like telephones or doorbells. This talent stems from a highly developed syrinx, the vocal organ in birds, combined with neural pathways in their brains dedicated to vocal learning. Not all parrot species are equally talented mimics. Budgerigar, African greys, and Amazon parrots are particularly skilled. While some species rarely mimic at all, the evolutionary purpose of this ability remains debated. It may help them fit into complex social groups, signal their fitness to potential mates, or allow them to communicate across the varied soundscapes of their habitats. Whatever its origins, the result is remarkable. Birds that can learn and reproduce an astonishing array of sounds. Wild parrots use distinct calls to identify individuals and groups. In the wild, parrots don't just chatter randomly. They use specific vocalizations to communicate with precision. Many species have signature contact calls, unique sounds that identify individuals as clearly as a name. Mates learn each other's calls and use them to locate one another in dense forest canopy. Parents and chicks recognize each other's voices even in noisy breeding colonies. Some parrot species also have regional dialects. Populations separated by distance develop slightly different versions of the same calls, much like human accents. Young parrots learn these dialects from their parents and flockmates. a form of cultural transmission. When parrots from different regions meet, they may initially struggle to understand each other's calls. Over time, they can learn new dialects, showing flexibility in their vocal learning. This complex vocal culture reveals social lives far richer than we once imagined. Baby parrots babble like human infants before learning adult calls. When parrot chicks first attempt to vocalize, they don't immediately produce clear calls. Instead, they babble, creating random sounds and practicing the motor skills needed for vocal production. This developmental stage closely resembles human infant babbling. The chicks repeat sounds over and over, gradually refining them into recognizable calls. During this learning period, young parrots listen intently to adult vocalizations, especially those of their parents. They're not just memorizing sounds, but learning the social contexts in which different calls are used. Which sound means danger, which indicates food, which calls help maintain contact with the flock. This apprenticeship in communication takes months, and the sounds they learn during this critical period often stay with them for life. It's a reminder that even in birds, complex communication requires learning and practice. Some parrots sing elaborate duets with their mates. Among the most enchanting parrot behaviors is duetting, where mated pairs sing coordinated songs together. Each bird contributes specific notes or phrases, timed so precisely that they blend into a single, seamless melody. To a casual listener, it might sound like one bird singing. Only careful observation reveals two voices working in perfect harmony. These duets serve multiple purposes. They help pairs maintain their bond, coordinate their activities, and announce their partnership to other parrots. The precision required for successful duetting means that pairs must know each other intimately, understanding each other's timing and style. If one bird changes its parts slightly, the partner adjusts to maintain harmony. These songs are like conversations where both speakers understand not just the words, but the rhythm and emotion behind them. Social behavior. Parrots are highly social creatures that form strong bonds. In the wild, parrots rarely live alone. They're social animals that thrive in the company of others, forming flocks that can number from a handful of individuals to thousands. Within these flocks, parrots establish relationships, recognizing individuals and maintaining long-term bonds. Many species mate for life, with pairs remaining together year after year. These social bonds are central to parrot well-being. Parrots engage in social behaviors throughout the day, preening each other, sharing food, playing together, and simply sitting close. Touch is important to them. Bonded parrots often sleep pressed against each other, seeking comfort in physical contact. When separated from their companions, parrots can become distressed, calling out in an attempt to re-establish contact. Their need for social connection is profound. Flocks of parrots coordinate their movements with remarkable precision. Watch a flock of parrots in flight, and you'll see coordination that seems almost choreographed. Hundreds of birds might wheel through the air together, turning in unison, rising and falling as one. This synchronized movement isn't led by a single bird, but emerges from each parrot responding to its neighbors, adjusting its flight to match those around it. This coordination serves practical purposes. Flying in flocks provides protection from predators. When hundreds of eyes watch for danger, threats are spotted quickly. The confusion of many moving birds makes it harder for predators to focus on a single target. Flocks also share information about food sources. If one bird finds a fruiting tree, others follow, and soon the location is known to all. Living socially multiplies the benefits of individual knowledge and awareness. Parrots establish complex social hierarchies within flocks. Not all parrots in a flock have equal status. Like many social animals, they establish hierarchies. with some individuals dominant over others. Dominance isn't usually determined by fighting, but through subtle displays and interactions. A dominant parrot might claim the best feeding spots or the most desirable perches, and subordinate birds yield to them. These hierarchies aren't necessarily rigid. Younger parrots may challenge older ones as they mature. Pairs may have higher status than single birds. The social landscape of a parrot flock is constantly negotiated through interactions. Understanding one's place in the hierarchy helps maintain flock stability, reducing conflicts and allowing the group to function smoothly. For a social species, knowing where you stand in relation to others is essential knowledge. Parrots engage in play behavior throughout their lives. Unlike many animals that only play as juveniles, parrots continue playing into adulthood. They chase each other, wrestle with their beaks, hang upside down from branches, and manipulate objects purely for entertainment. In captivity, parrots famously play with toys, solving puzzles, shredding paper, and ringing bells. Play serves important functions. It helps parrots develop and maintain physical skills, provides mental stimulation, and strengthens social bonds. When parrots play together, they're learning about each other, testing boundaries, and building trust. Play also indicates emotional well-being. A parrot that plays regularly is likely healthy and content. The persistence of play throughout their lives suggests it's not just developmental, but fundamentally important to parrot psychology. Feeding and diet. Parrots primarily eat seeds, nuts, fruits, and flowers in the wild. The natural diet of parrots is remarkably diverse, though it varies by species and habitat. Many parrots are seed and nut specialists, using their powerful beaks to crack open hard shells that other birds cannot access. Others feed primarily on fruits, spreading seeds through the forest as they move from tree to tree. Some species prefer flowers and nectar, while others seek out leafy vegetation. This dietary diversity means parrots play important ecological roles. As seed dispersers, they help forests regenerate, carrying seeds away from parent trees and depositing them in new locations. When feeding on nectar, they pollinate flowers, much like hummingbirds or bees. By pruning branches and opening tough fruits, they create opportunities for other animals. Parrots don't just inhabit ecosystems, they actively shape them through their feeding behaviors. A parrot's beak is perfectly designed for processing food. The parrot beak is a marvel of natural engineering. The upper mandible curves downward, overlapping the lower mandible, creating a tool that functions like pliers, nutcracker, and knife, all in one. The upper beak is also hinged, allowing it to move independently of the skull, something most bird beaks cannot do. This gives parrots exceptional dexterity and crushing power. Inside the beak, ridges and grooves help manipulate food items. The tongue is thick and muscular, capable of positioning seeds and nuts for optimal cracking. Together, beak and tongue work like a hand, holding items steady while the powerful jaw muscles apply force. This design allows parrots to process foods that would be impossible for most other birds, giving them access to resources that reduce competition and expand their dietary options. Some parrots eat clay from riverbanks to neutralize toxins. In certain regions, parrots engage in a curious behavior called geophagy, deliberately eating clay from exposed riverbanks and cliff faces. At first glance, this seems strange. Why would birds eat dirt? The answer lies in chemistry. Many of the seeds and unripe fruits that parrots consume contain toxins, plant defenses, meant to discourage predators. The clay contains minerals that bind to these toxins, neutralizing them and preventing them from being absorbed in the digestive system. By eating clay regularly, parrots can safely consume foods that would sicken other animals. Certain clay sites attract hundreds or even thousands of parrots, creating spectacular gatherings as birds of many species converge on the same mineral-rich banks. These clay licks become social hubs, places where parrots from across the region gather not just to feed, but to interact. Parrots use their feet-like hands to manipulate food. Unlike most birds that hold food down with their feet and tear with their beaks, parrots often bring food directly to their beaks using their feet. This zygodactyl foot structure, with 2 toes pointing forward and 2 backward, creates a grasping appendage remarkably similar to a hand. Watch a parrot eat, and you'll see it holding a nut in one foot, rotating it, and positioning it precisely for cracking. This ability to manipulate objects with their feet reflects their intelligence and dexterity. It allows them to examine food items closely, remove inedible portions, and access the most nutritious parts. Some species even show a preference for one foot over the other, a form of handedness similar to humans being right or left-handed. The coordination between beak and feet gives parrots remarkable control, turning feeding into a precise operation. Nectar-feeding parrots have evolved specialized brush-tipped tongues. While many parrots feed on solid foods, several species have adapted to feeding on nectar and pollen. These lorikeets and lories possess tongues tipped with papillae, tiny hair-like projections that create a brush-like surface. When the parrot extends its tongue into a flower, these papillae soak up nectar like a sponge. This adaptation allows them to feed efficiently from flowers without damaging the delicate reproductive structures. As they move from bloom to bloom, pollen sticks to their heads and is transferred to other flowers, facilitating pollination. Some flowering plants have evolved specifically to attract these parrots, producing blooms that match the size and shape of parrot beaks and providing nectar at times when the birds need it most. These relationships between parrots and plants showcase how species can become intricately connected through evolution, nesting, and reproduction. Most parrots nest in tree cavities that they excavate or claim. When breeding season arrives, parrots seek out suitable nesting sites. For the majority of species, this means finding cavities in trees. Some excavate their own holes, using their powerful beaks to carve into dead or dying wood. Others claim existing cavities, competing with other hole-nesting species for limited real estate. The scarcity of good nest sites can become a limiting factor in parrot populations. Once a cavity is claimed, pairs may use it year after year, returning to the same site for each breeding season. They line the bottom with wood chips, creating a soft surface for eggs. The depth and dimensions of the cavity matter. It must be deep enough to protect eggs and chicks from predators and weather, but not so deep that adults cannot easily enter and exit. Finding or creating the perfect nest requires both effort and luck. Monk parakeets build elaborate communal stick nests, unlike other parrots. While most parrots nest in cavities, the monk parakeet has evolved a completely different strategy. These social birds from South America construct massive communal nests made entirely of sticks. Multiple pairs work together, building a structure that can weigh hundreds of pounds and house dozens of breeding pairs, each in their own compartment. These nests are architectural marvels, woven together so tightly they can last for years. They provide better insulation than tree cavities, important in the temperate climates where monk parakeets often live. The communal nature of the nests strengthens social bonds and allows pairs to share the burden of nest maintenance. When one section needs repair, neighbors help. This cooperative breeding strategy is rare among parrots and showcases the diversity of parrot adaptations. Parrot pairs share the responsibilities of incubating eggs. Once eggs are laid, usually between 2 and 8 depending on species, the hard work of incubation begins. In most parrot species, both parents participate, though the female typically does more of the incubating. The male often guards the nest entrance, brings food to the female, and takes over incubation duties when she needs to leave for food and water. Incubation can last from 2 to 4 weeks, depending on species size. During this time, parents must maintain consistent egg temperature and humidity while protecting against predators. They turn the eggs regularly, ensuring even heat distribution. This shared parenting reflects the strong pair bonds in parrots. Raising chicks successfully requires cooperation, with both parents contributing their efforts toward the shared goal of bringing the next generation into the world. Parrot chicks hatch blind and helpless, completely dependent on parents. When parrot chicks emerge from their eggs, they are altricial, meaning they're born in a highly undeveloped state. They're blind, naked, or covered only with sparse down, and completely unable to care for themselves. Their eyes won't open for a week or more. For the first days of life, they are entirely vulnerable, dependent on parental care for every need. Both parents feed the chicks with regurgitated food, a nutritious mixture processed in the parental crop. As chicks grow, they become more active and demanding, crying loudly when hungry. Parents must work tirelessly to gather enough food, making countless trips back and forth to the nest. The larger the clutch, the more exhausting this becomes. Successfully raising even one chick to fledging requires extraordinary parental investment. Chicks remain in the nest for weeks or months before fledging. The nestling period in parrots is remarkably long compared to many other birds. Small species might fledge in 5 to 6 weeks, but larger parrots, like macaws, can remain in the nest for 3 to 4 months. During this extended childhood, chicks develop slowly, growing feathers, gaining weight, and gradually opening their eyes to see the world. This long development period allows chicks to grow strong and learn essential skills before facing the dangers of life outside the nest. Parents continue feeding fledglings even after they leave the nest, sometimes for several more weeks or months. The young birds must learn to fly proficiently, identify safe foods, recognize predators, and integrate into the social world of the flock. The extended family bonds in parrots mean that parents invest heavily in each offspring, increasing the chances that each one survives to adulthood. Some species breed cooperatively, with helpers assisting parents. While most parrots breed in pairs, a few species have evolved cooperative breeding systems. In these species, individuals other than the parents help raise chicks. These helpers are often older offspring from previous years, staying with their parents to assist rather than immediately seeking their own mates. They help feed chicks, guard the nest, and defend territory. This strategy benefits everyone involved. Parents get extra help raising demanding chicks, increasing chick survival rates. Helpers gain experience in parenting before starting their own families and may inherit the territory when parents eventually die. The extended family groups that result from cooperative breeding create tight-knit social units that persist across years. It's a reminder that parrot social systems can be as complex and varied as those found in mammals, flight and movement. Parrots are powerful and agile flyers, adapted to forest life. In their natural habitats, parrots navigate dense forests, weaving between branches, accelerating quickly, and making sharp turns to avoid obstacles. Their flight style is powerful and direct, with rapid wing beats that propel them swiftly through the air. Unlike soaring birds that rely on long wings and gliding, parrots have relatively short, rounded wings, optimized for maneuverability rather than efficient long-distance travel. Watch a flock of parrots flying, and you'll see coordination and grace. They communicate in flight with calls, maintaining contact with flock members even when visibility is limited. When approaching a feeding tree or roosting site, they may circle several times, assessing safety before landing. Their flight is both functional, getting them where they need to go, and social, keeping them connected with their companions as they move through their world. Parrots can fly at speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour. While parrots aren't the fastest birds in the sky, they're certainly not slow. Most parrot species can reach speeds of 30 to 50 miles per hour in level flight, with some capable of brief bursts even faster. Smaller species like budgerigars are particularly swift and agile, darting through the air with remarkable speed. Larger macaws fly more deliberately, but still cover ground quickly. These speeds serve them well in avoiding predators. A hawk or falcon might be faster in a straight chase, but parrots excel at sudden direction changes and using forest cover to their advantage. When fleeing danger, a parrot's combination of speed and maneuverability often proves sufficient for escape. Their powerful chest muscles, which can account for a quarter of their body weight, provide the strength needed for sustained, rapid flight. Some parrots migrate seasonally in search of food resources. While many parrot species are sedentary, staying in the same general area year-round, others undertake regular migrations. These movements are typically driven by food availability rather than temperature. When fruit trees come into season in one region, nomadic parrot flocks travel to take advantage of the bounty. When resources decline, they move on, following ripening crops across the landscape. These migrations can cover hundreds of miles and require remarkable navigational abilities. Parrots remember the locations of productive feeding areas and the timing of fruit seasons, returning to the same sites year after year. During migration, flocks may grow larger as groups converge on abundant resources. These seasonal gatherings become important social events, opportunities for young parrots to find mates and for established pairs to reconnect with familiar individuals from across their range. Parrots use their beaks as a third limb when climbing. In addition to their feet, parrots use their beaks extensively when moving through trees. They grasp branches with their beaks, pulling themselves upward or steadying themselves as they move. This beak-assisted climbing is so characteristic of parrots that it's often one of the first behaviors people notice when watching them. The beak acts almost like a hand, reaching ahead to the next hold before the feet move. This climbing style allows parrots to navigate complex three-dimensional environments with confidence. They can move along branches of any angle, hanging upside down if necessary, to reach food or explore cavities. The combination of zygodactyl feet and prehensile beak use gives parrots exceptional mobility in their arboreal habitats. They're not just visitors to the canopy, but creatures perfectly designed to make it their home. Wing clipping in captivity prevents flight, but doesn't eliminate the desire to fly. In captivity, many parrot owners choose to clip their bird's flight feathers, cutting the primary feathers on one or both wings to prevent full flight. This is done for safety, preventing parrots from flying into windows, escaping outdoors, or injuring themselves. However, clipping doesn't remove the instinct or desire to fly. Parrots with clipped wings still attempt to fly, often becoming frustrated when they cannot. Flight is fundamental to parrot identity. In the wild, they spend hours each day flying between feeding sites, water sources, and roosting areas. Flight provides exercise, mental stimulation, and freedom. Flightless parrots may become more sedentary, potentially leading to obesity and boredom. For these reasons, many experts now recommend allowing pet parrots to fly in safe, controlled environments, recognizing that flight is a core need rather than a luxury. Respecting a parrot's nature means honoring its need to move through the air. Some species have adapted to living at high altitudes in mountainous regions. While we often picture parrots in steamy rainforests, many species thrive at high elevations. The kea of New Zealand lives in alpine regions, enduring cold temperatures and even snow. Thick-billed parrots historically ranged into mountain forests of Mexico and the southwestern United States, where winters can be harsh. These high-altitude parrots have adapted to conditions very different from tropical lowlands. Living in mountains presents unique challenges. Food resources may be scarcer and more seasonal. Temperatures fluctuate dramatically between day and night. Flying at altitude requires more effort in thinner air. Yet these parrots have evolved behaviors and physiology to cope. They may have denser plumage for insulation, alter their diets to include available mountain foods, and time their breeding to coincide with periods of resource abundance. Mountain parrots remind us that these birds are adaptable, capable of thriving in diverse environments. Geographic distribution. Parrots naturally occur on every continent except Antarctica. The global distribution of parrots is remarkably broad. They're found in Central and South America, Africa, Southern Asia, Australia, and numerous Pacific islands. The only continents lacking native parrots are Europe and Antarctica, and even Europe has introduced populations now. This wide distribution reflects the ancient origin of parrots and their ability to adapt to diverse environments. Different regions host different parrot families. Neotropical parrots, including macaws, Amazons, and conures, dominate the Americas. African parrots, though less diverse in species count, include the highly intelligent African greys. The Asia-Pacific region hosts the greatest diversity, with cockatoos, lorikeets, and an array of other species filling ecological niches, from tropical rainforests to arid scrublands. Each region's parrots bear the stamp of their evolutionary history. Australia hosts the greatest diversity of parrot species in the world. Of all countries, Australia claims the title of Parrot Paradise. More than 50 species are endemic to Australia, found nowhere else on Earth. The continent's varied habitats, from tropical rainforests in the north to temperate forests in the south, from arid interior deserts to coastal woodlands, provide niches for an extraordinary variety of parrots. Australian parrots include cockatoos with their distinctive crests, colourful rosellas, the massive palm cockatoo, tiny budgerigars that form enormous flocks, and many others. Each has adapted to specific conditions. Some feed on grass seeds in open plains. Others extract nectar from eucalyptus flowers. Still others nest in termite mounds in the tropical north. This diversity makes Australia a living laboratory for studying parrot evolution and ecology. New Zealand is home to unique and remarkable parrot species. Isolated for millions of years, New Zealand developed a parrot fauna unlike anywhere else. The kea, a large olive-green parrot, is the world's only alpine parrot, renowned for its intelligence and curiosity. The kaka, closely related to the kea, inhabits native forests. Most remarkable is the kakapo, a flightless, nocturnal parrot that has become critically endangered. These New Zealand parrots evolved without mammalian predators, leading to unusual adaptations. The arrival of humans and introduced mammals devastated New Zealand's parrots. Habitat loss, hunting, and predation by rats, stoats, and cats pushed several species to the brink. The kakapo, once widespread, now survives only through intensive conservation efforts. New Zealand's parrots tell a cautionary tale about how island species, evolved in isolation, can be especially vulnerable to rapid environmental changes brought by human activity. Many parrot species inhabit islands throughout the Pacific Ocean, Scattered across the Pacific are countless islands, and many host their own unique parrot species. These island parrots often evolved from mainland ancestors that colonized islands long ago, then diverged into distinct species. Small population sizes and geographic isolation accelerated their evolution, creating forms specialized for island life. Island parrots face particular conservation challenges. Limited ranges mean entire species can exist on a single small island. Habitat destruction, introduced predators, or disease outbreaks can quickly push them toward extinction. Many Pacific island parrots have already been lost, known only from museum specimens or historical accounts. Those that remain require careful protection, their survival dependent on preserving the small patches of habitat where they cling to existence. The Amazon rainforest supports an extraordinary concentration of parrot diversity. When people imagine parrots, they often picture the Amazon rainforest, and for good reason. This vast region supports more parrot species than anywhere else on Earth. Macaws, Amazons, pioners, parakeets, parrotlets, and more coexist in a dizzying variety of colors and sizes. Some species are common and widespread, while others inhabit only small areas within the larger forest. The Amazon's diversity of parrots reflects the diversity of the forest itself, with countless tree species producing different fruits and seeds at different times. There's always something for specialized feeders to eat. The complex forest structure provides numerous nesting sites. Rivers and seasonally flooded forests create additional habitats with their own parrot communities. Protecting the Amazon means protecting not just trees, but the intricate web of life that includes some of the world's most spectacular parrots. Conservation challenges. Nearly 1/3 of all parrot species face extinction in the wild. Parrots as a group are among the most threatened birds on Earth. Of the more than 390 species, approximately 1/3 are classified as threatened with extinction. Some species number in the hundreds or fewer individuals. Others have already disappeared, known only from historical records and preserved specimens. The threats they face are numerous and often interconnected. Habitat loss stands as the primary threat to most parrot species. As forests are cleared for agriculture, logging, and development, parrots lose the trees they need for feeding and nesting. Capturing for the pet trade has devastated some populations, with poachers taking birds from the wild to sell. Introduced predators, particularly on islands, kill adults and raid nests. Climate change alters the timing of food availability and may make some habitats unsuitable. Each threat compounds the others, creating a conservation crisis. The Carolina parakeet was the only parrot native to the eastern United States. Once, colorful parrots flew through the forests of the eastern United States. The Carolina parakeet, with its yellow head and green body, ranged from the Gulf Coast to the Great Lakes, from the Atlantic to the Great Plains. Flocks numbering in the hundreds fed on seeds and fruits, their noisy calls echoing through American forests. Early colonists knew them well, recording their beauty and abundance. Sadly, the Carolina parakeet could not survive human expansion. Farmers shot them as crop pests. Their feathers became fashionable decorations. Habitat loss reduced their numbers. By the late 1800s, they were rare. The last wild parrots were reported in the early 1900s. The final captive individual died in the Cincinnati Zoo in 1918. North America lost its only native parrot, a sobering reminder of how quickly a species can vanish. Some parrot species have been saved from extinction through intensive efforts. Despite the grim statistics, conservation success stories exist. The Puerto Rican parrot reduced to just 13 individuals in the wild in 1975, has been brought back through captive breeding and habitat protection. The echo parakeet of Mauritius, down to fewer than 20 birds, has been rescued through nest protection and supplemental feeding. These recoveries required decades of dedicated work. Conservationists learned that saving parrots requires addressing multiple threats simultaneously. Protecting habitat alone isn't enough if poachers still raid nests. Breeding birds in captivity helps only if suitable habitat exists for release. Each species requires tailored strategies based on its specific needs and threats. The successes prove that extinction is not inevitable, that with sufficient will and resources, we can reverse declines and give parrots a future. The illegal pet trade continues to threaten wild parrot populations. Despite international laws regulating wildlife trade, illegal capture of parrots persists in many regions. Poachers target rare species that command high prices, sometimes taking entire years' worth of offspring from breeding populations. The scale can be staggering. Thousands of birds taken from the wild annually in some countries. Many die during capture and transport, never reaching buyers. This trade is driven by demand for exotic pets. While captive-bred parrots are readily available, some buyers prefer wild-caught birds or seek rare species unavailable through legal channels. Every purchase fuels the trade, incentivizing more poaching. Breaking this cycle requires both enforcement to catch smugglers and education to reduce demand. When people understand the impact of the trade and choose responsibly bred birds, market pressure decreases and wild populations can recover. Habitat preservation is essential for parrot survival in the wild. Ultimately, parrots need places to live. Protected areas like national parks and reserves provide safe havens where forests remain intact and hunting is controlled. Creating these protected spaces requires balancing conservation with human needs. Local communities must support protection efforts, which happens most readily when they benefit from conservation through ecotourism or sustainable resource use. In some regions, creative approaches have emerged. Payments for ecosystem services compensate landowners for maintaining forests. Community-managed reserves give local people stake in protecting wildlife. Connecting protected areas with habitat corridors allows parrots to move between patches of forest, maintaining genetic diversity. Each success in habitat preservation doesn't just save parrots, but protects entire ecosystems with all their inhabitants. Climate change poses new threats to specialized parrot species. As global temperatures rise and weather patterns shift, parrots face challenges beyond traditional threats. Species adapted to specific climates may find their habitats becoming unsuitable. Mountaintop species have nowhere higher to go as temperatures warm. Coastal parrots face rising sea levels. Changes in rainfall patterns affect fruiting trees, potentially creating mismatches between when parrots breed and when food is available for chicks. Climate change also increases the frequency and severity of extreme weather events. Severe droughts, storms, and fires can devastate parrot populations. Some species may be able to adapt or shift their ranges, but others, particularly those with small populations in restricted areas, have limited options. Addressing climate change is thus critical to long-term parrot conservation, another thread in the complex challenge of ensuring these birds continue gracing our world with their presence. Famous parrots. Alex the African grey revolutionized our understanding of animal cognition. Among individual parrots, none became more famous than Alex, an African grey who worked with scientist Irene Pepperberg for 30 years. Through patient training and testing, Alex demonstrated cognitive abilities that challenged assumptions about animal minds. He could identify more than 50 objects, 7 colors, 5 shapes, and quantities up to 6. He understood concepts like same and different, bigger and smaller. What made Alex remarkable wasn't just what he learned, but how he learned it. He wasn't simply memorizing responses to stimuli, but seemed to genuinely understand the meanings of words. When shown an object and asked, "What color?" he would correctly identify it. When bored with testing, he would request to return to his cage. His last words to Irene, spoken the night before his unexpected death in 2007, were, "You be good. I love you." Alex changed science's view of birds, revealing depths of intelligence previously unrecognized. Snowball, the dancing cockatoo, revealed parrots can synchronize to music. In 2007, a video appeared online showing a sulfur-crested cockatoo named Snowball bobbing and moving to music. At first dismissed as coincidence or training, scientific investigation revealed something remarkable. Snowball was genuinely synchronizing his movements to the beat. When the tempo changed, he adjusted his dancing accordingly. This was spontaneous, not trained behavior. This discovery was significant because rhythmic entrainment, the ability to synchronize to a beat, was thought to be uniquely human. Snowball proved otherwise. Further research showed other parrots could do the same, each with their own dancing style. This ability likely relates to the same neural mechanisms that allow parrots to learn complex vocalizations. It suggests parrots experience music in ways similar to humans, finding pleasure in rhythm and movement. Snowball became an internet sensation and a scientific subject, showing how social media can sometimes highlight genuinely interesting phenomena. Parrots have served as companions to historical figures throughout time. Throughout history, parrots have shared space with humans, in roles ranging from pets to symbols of status. Ancient Romans kept parrots as prized possessions. European royalty collected exotic species as demonstrations of wealth and power. Sailors brought parrots back from voyages, establishing the association between pirates and parrots that persists in popular culture today. Famous historical figures owned parrots. Andrew Jackson's parrot was reportedly removed from his funeral for swearing. President Theodore Roosevelt kept parrots in the White House. Artist Frida Kahlo surrounded herself with parrots, including them in her paintings. These relationships show how parrots have long captivated human imagination, their beauty, intelligence, and personality making them valued companions across cultures and eras. The kakapo is one of the world's rarest and most unusual parrots. Among parrot species, few are as remarkable as the kakapo of New Zealand. This is a parrot like no other. It's flightless, the heaviest parrot in the world, reaching up to 9 pounds. It's nocturnal, emerging at night when most parrots are sleeping. Males perform elaborate booming calls from display sites to attract females, a mating system more similar to some mammals than to other birds. Kakapos are also critically endangered. By the 1990s, fewer than 50 individuals remained. Intensive conservation efforts have slowly increased numbers through predator control, supplemental feeding, and careful management of breeding. Each bird is known individually, monitored closely, and protected. Every chick successfully raised is celebrated. The kakapo has become a conservation icon, representing both the fragility of island species and the possibility of recovery through dedication. Parrots and humans. Humans have kept parrots as companions for thousands of years. The relationship between humans and parrots extends deep into history. Archaeological evidence shows that ancient civilizations in South America kept parrots, possibly for feathers used in ceremonies and adornments, but also as living companions. Indigenous peoples developed close relationships with parrots, featuring them prominently in their art and mythology. As trade routes expanded, parrots spread beyond their natural ranges. Ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans all knew parrots, keeping them as exotic pets. In medieval Europe, parrots were luxury items owned by the wealthy. By the time of colonial expansion, parrots were being transported around the world. Today, millions of parrots live in captivity as pets, making them one of the most popular companion animals, despite the complex care they require. Captive parrots can live for many decades, some exceeding 80 years. One of the most important facts about pet parrots is their longevity. While small species like budgerigars might live 10 to 15 years, larger parrots often live for decades. Cockatoos, macaws, and Amazon parrots commonly reach 50 years or more. Some documented individuals have lived into their 80s. This extraordinary lifespan means that getting a parrot is a commitment potentially lasting a human lifetime. This longevity has implications for both parrots and owners. A parrot may outlive its original owner, requiring plans for its continued care. Over decades, the parrot-human bond deepens, with each learning the other's habits and personalities. However, longevity also means parrots suffer greatly from neglect or rehoming. Moving between homes creates stress and behavioral problems. Understanding the time commitment involved is essential before bringing a parrot into one's life. Parrots require complex care and social interaction as pets. Despite their popularity, parrots are not easy pets. They require spacious cages or aviaries, varied diets, including fresh fruits and vegetables, and extensive mental stimulation through toys, puzzles, and foraging opportunities. They need hours of social interaction daily. Without sufficient attention, they develop behavioral problems like excessive screaming, feather plucking, and aggression. Their intelligence, while endearing, also creates challenges. Bored parrots are destructive parrots, capable of dismantling cages and furniture. They need routine and structure, but also novelty and enrichment. Their powerful beaks can inflict serious bites. They're sensitive to household hazards like non-stick cookware fumes and toxic plants. Prospective owners must research thoroughly and honestly assess whether they can meet these needs before acquiring a parrot. Some domesticated parrot populations have established themselves in new regions. In various cities around the world, flocks of feral parrots have established breeding populations far from their native ranges. Monk parakeets thrive in many American cities despite cold winters. Rose-ringed parakeets, native to Africa and Asia, now breed in numerous European cities including London, Brussels, and Amsterdam. These populations typically began with escaped or released pets that found suitable habitat and bred successfully. These feral populations create fascinating ecological questions. Do they compete with native birds? Do they fill ecological roles left vacant by extinct species? Are they harmful invasives or harmless additions to urban wildlife? The answers vary by location. In some cases, they seem to coexist peacefully with native species. In others, they may compete for nest sites or food. These parrots have become part of their adopted homes, adding splashes of tropical color to temperate cityscapes. Parrots feature prominently in literature, film, and popular culture. From children's books to adventure films, parrots have secured a place in human storytelling. The image of a parrot on a pirate's shoulder has become iconic, though historically inaccurate in most details. Parrots appear as symbols of wisdom, as comedic sidekicks, as exotic treasures, and as loyal companions. Their ability to mimic speech makes them perfect characters for stories exploring themes of communication and intelligence. This cultural presence has both helped and hindered real parrots. On one hand, people's affection for parrots has motivated conservation efforts and increased awareness of their plight. On the other, media portrayals sometimes create unrealistic expectations about parrot ownership, contributing to impulse purchases and subsequent rehoming when reality doesn't match fantasy. Balancing appreciation for parrots in culture with realistic understanding of their needs remains an ongoing challenge. Unique adaptations. The kea of New Zealand is known for its playful and curious nature. Among the world's parrots, the kea stands out for its personality. This large olive-green parrot inhabits the mountains of New Zealand's South Island, where it has earned a reputation for boldness and intelligence. Keas investigate anything new in their environment, using their powerful beaks to probe, pry, and dismantle objects. They've been observed working together to solve problems and even engage in play that seems purely for enjoyment. Their curiosity sometimes brings them into conflict with humans. Keas investigate cars, tearing off rubber seals and windshield wipers. They raid campsites and steal food. While these behaviors can be frustrating, they demonstrate remarkable cognitive flexibility. Keas adapt quickly to new situations, learning from experience and from watching other keas. Their intelligence and playfulness make them favorites among bird enthusiasts. Even if they're sometimes considered nuisances in their native range, some parrots use tools, a sign of advanced intelligence. Tool use was once considered a hallmark of human intelligence, then was found in primates, and now we know various birds use tools as well, including parrots. The palm cockatoo fashions drumsticks from branches, using them to beat against hollow trees in courtship displays. Captive parrots have been observed using sticks to rake in food items beyond their reach, bending wires into hooks to fish objects from containers. These behaviors aren't just learned tricks but demonstrate problem-solving abilities. The parrots understand cause and effect. Recognizing that a tool can extend their capabilities, they select appropriate materials and modify them as needed. This cognitive flexibility suggests that parrot intelligence evolved for solving complex problems in their natural environments, where finding food and navigating social relationships requires innovation and creativity. The hyacinth macaw is the largest flying parrot species in the world. When you think of impressive parrots, the hyacinth macaw surely comes to mind. This magnificent bird is the largest parrot capable of flight, reaching lengths of up to 40 inches from head to tail and weighing more than 3 pounds. Its cobalt blue plumage is striking, accented by vibrant yellow eye rings and patches at the base of the beak. In flight, it's unmistakable, a flash of brilliant blue against the sky. Despite their size, hyacinth macaws are gentle and social. They form strong pair bonds and live in small family groups. In the wild, they inhabit palm groves and forest edges in central South America, feeding primarily on palm nuts that they crack with their powerful beaks. Unfortunately, habitat loss and capture for the pet trade reduced their numbers severely. Conservation efforts have helped stabilize populations, but they remain vulnerable, reminding us that even the largest and most spectacular parrots need protection. Unusual species. The pygmy parrots are the smallest parrots in the world. At the opposite end of the size spectrum from hyacinth macaws are the pygmy parrots of New Guinea and nearby islands. These tiny birds measure only about 3 inches in length and weigh less than half an ounce. Despite their diminutive size, they're true parrots with all the characteristic features: hooked beaks, zygodactyl feet, and bright plumage, just in miniature. Pygmy parrots have specialized lifestyles. They feed primarily on lichens and fungi, growing on tree bark, clinging to vertical trunks like woodpeckers. Their tails have stiffened central feathers that provide support as they climb. They nest in cavities they excavate in termite mounds in trees, where the soft material makes digging easier. Watching these tiny parrots scramble up tree trunks, one would hardly recognize them as relatives of large macaws, yet they share a common ancestry, each adapted to their particular ecological niche. The buff-faced pygmy parrot is one of the rarest parrots known to science. Among pygmy parrots, the buff-faced pygmy parrot holds particular mystery. Known from only a handful of specimens collected in the early 20th century from Papua New Guinea, this species hasn't been reliably documented in decades. Scientists aren't certain whether it's extinct, extremely rare, or simply lives in remote areas rarely visited by researchers. Its exact habitat requirements and behavior remain largely unknown. Such mystery surrounds several parrot species, particularly those inhabiting remote tropical forests. Dense canopies and rugged terrain make field studies difficult. Some parrots may exist in good numbers but remain poorly known simply because no one has studied them thoroughly. Each rediscovery of a supposedly extinct or rare species reminds us how much we still don't know about the natural world, how many secrets still hide in unexplored corners. The kakapo is the world's only flightless parrot. The kakapo of New Zealand represents one of evolution's most remarkable experiments. When parrots arrived in New Zealand millions of years ago, they found a land without mammalian predators. In this safe environment, some species lost the ability to fly, reallocating energy into other traits. The kakapo became large and heavy, its wings reduced to stubby appendages, insufficient for flight. It became nocturnal, foraging at night for leaves, fruits, and plant matter. This strategy worked for millions of years. Then humans arrived, bringing rats, cats, and stoats. Flightless and ground nesting, kakapos were devastated. By the late 20th century, only a few dozen remained. Conservationists moved all known individuals to predator-free islands where they're monitored constantly. Breeding is managed carefully. Each kakapo has a name and radio transmitter. Slowly, numbers are increasing. The kakapo's story is one of both incredible vulnerability and determined hope. Night parrots of Australia remained hidden for nearly a century. For nearly 100 years, the night parrot was considered possibly extinct. A small, secretive parrot inhabiting Australia's arid interior, it was known from just a few museum specimens collected in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Then, in the 2000s, living birds were rediscovered. Camera traps captured images. Calls were recorded. Researchers confirmed that night parrots still existed, sparking excitement in the conservation community. The night parrot remains one of the world's most elusive birds. It emerges only at night to feed on grass seeds, spending days hidden in dense spinifex grass. Its cryptic plumage blends perfectly with its habitat. Studying it requires patience and technology, with researchers using acoustic monitoring and careful tracking. Each discovery about the night parrot's ecology helps inform conservation efforts for a species that nearly slipped into extinction unnoticed. The eclectus parrot displays dramatic sexual dimorphism in coloration. Most parrot species show little visual difference between males and females, but the eclectus parrot breaks this rule spectacularly. Males are brilliant emerald green with red and blue accents. Females are predominantly red and purple. For years, early naturalists thought they were different species. The difference is so pronounced that even today, the sight of an eclectus pair can surprise those unfamiliar with the species. This dramatic dimorphism relates to their breeding behavior. Females compete intensely for nest cavities, which are scarce in their rainforest habitats. The bright red coloration may advertise their quality to potential mates and warn rival females. Males provision females during incubation, and the green coloration may help them remain inconspicuous while foraging. The eclectus parrot shows how sexual selection can create striking differences within a species. Sensory abilities. Parrots have excellent vision, adapted for their active lifestyles. Vision is perhaps the most important sense for parrots. Their eyes are large relative to their head size, providing acute visual perception. They can see a wide range of colors, including ultraviolet light invisible to humans. This helps them identify ripe fruits, spot predators, and assess the health and quality of potential mates through plumage details we cannot perceive. Parrot eyes are positioned on the sides of their heads, giving them wide fields of view. They can see almost all around them without turning their heads, useful for detecting threats while feeding. However, they also have good binocular vision straight ahead, allowing them to judge distances accurately when flying through forests or manipulating objects. The combination of wide awareness and focused precision makes parrot vision exceptionally effective. Parrots can detect subtle movements and changes in their environment. The visual processing in parrot brains is sophisticated, allowing them to detect minute movements that might signal a predator or identify individual flockmates at a distance. They notice changes in their surroundings quickly, becoming alert to anything unusual. This sensitivity, while useful in the wild, can make pet parrots seem nervous or reactive in home environments where many things are constantly changing. Their ability to process visual information rapidly also contributes to their flight capabilities. Navigating through dense forest at speed requires processing visual data almost instantaneously, making split-second decisions about flight paths. The neural pathways supporting this visual processing reflect the demands of their lifestyle, shaped by natural selection to meet the challenges of their environments. Parrots have a strong sense of taste and definite food preferences. Anyone who has fed parrots knows they have opinions about food. They're not indiscriminate eaters, but show clear preferences, accepting some foods eagerly while rejecting others. This selectivity reflects a well-developed sense of taste. Parrots have taste buds similar to those of mammals, allowing them to distinguish sweet, sour, salty, and bitter flavors. In the wild, taste helps parrots avoid toxic foods. Many plants produce bitter compounds as defenses against herbivores. By detecting and rejecting bitter foods, parrots reduce their risk of poisoning. However, they also learn which seemingly toxic foods are actually safe when eaten in moderation or after processing, knowledge passed socially through flocks. In captivity, strong taste preferences can make dietary management challenging when parrots refuse nutritious foods they find unpalatable. Hearing in parrots is acute, tuned to communication calls. While vision gets most attention, hearing is also critical for parrots. They're highly vocal animals that rely on auditory communication to maintain flock cohesion, coordinate activities, and establish relationships. Their hearing is well tuned to the frequency ranges of parrot vocalizations, allowing them to distinguish individual calls even in noisy environments. Parrots can localize sounds accurately, determining the direction and distance of calling flockmates. This ability helps separated birds reunite and allows the flock to respond quickly to alarm calls. In captivity, parrots hear much more than we might realize. They notice sounds we've learned to filter out: footsteps approaching, doors opening, voices in other rooms. And these sounds become part of their understanding of their environment and routine. Parrots are sensitive to touch, particularly around the head and feet. Touch is important in parrot social life. Bonded pairs spend time preening each other, paying special attention to the head and neck, where a bird cannot reach with its own beak. These sessions aren't just about feather maintenance, but about bonding and comfort. The gentle touches convey affection and trust, strengthening the relationship between individuals. The feet are also highly sensitive. The scales and skin on parrot feet contain nerve endings that provide tactile feedback as they grip branches, manipulate food, or explore objects. This sensitivity allows precise control, helping them maintain balance on swaying branches or handle delicate items without dropping them. When pet parrots enjoy foot massages or step-ups, they're experiencing touch as a form of positive interaction, behavioral complexity. Parrots engage in complex problem-solving to obtain food. In the wild, finding and accessing food often requires ingenuity. Parrots must remember the locations of fruiting trees, sometimes visiting the same sites year after year. They must determine when fruits are ripe enough to eat. Some food items require processing. Nuts must be cracked, tough rinds must be removed, and toxic compounds may need to be neutralized through specific preparation techniques. Researchers testing parrots in captivity have found they can solve multi-step puzzles. They can learn to remove locks, open boxes, and navigate mazes to reach food rewards. They don't just try random actions, but appear to think through problems, sometimes pausing to assess a situation before taking action. This problem-solving ability reflects both intelligence and the selective pressures that shape their evolution in environments where food doesn't come easily. Some species demonstrate future planning and delayed gratification. One of the hallmarks of advanced cognition is the ability to plan for the future rather than simply responding to immediate needs. Research has shown that some parrot species can demonstrate delayed gratification, passing up an immediate small reward in favor of waiting for a larger reward later. They can also cache food, hiding it for future consumption, which requires remembering both the location and the fact that they stored something there. These abilities suggest that parrots have some concept of the future, an awareness that current actions can influence later outcomes. This capacity for planning and self-control is rare in the animal kingdom, found consistently only in certain mammals and a few bird species. It reveals depths to parrot cognition that we're only beginning to understand and appreciate. Parrots show emotional responses, including joy, fear, and jealousy. Anyone who has lived with parrots knows they experience emotions. They show excitement when favored people return home, bouncing and calling enthusiastically. They exhibit fear responses to perceived threats, sometimes developing phobias of specific objects or situations. They can be affectionate, seeking physical closeness, and gentle interactions with bonded individuals. Parrots also show what appears to be jealousy. If a bonded parrot sees their preferred person giving attention to another bird or individual, they may respond with aggression or distress vocalizations. They can sulk when disappointed, showing reduced activity and responsiveness. While we must be cautious about anthropomorphizing, attributing human emotions where they don't exist, the evidence suggests parrots do experience emotional states that meaningfully correspond to what we call emotions in ourselves. Play behavior continues throughout adult life in parrots. Unlike many animals that only play as juveniles, parrots play throughout their lives. They engage in solo play, manipulating objects, dangling from perches, or creating their own games. They engage in social play, chasing each other, wrestling gently, and taking turns in games that have no apparent purpose beyond enjoyment. This persistence of play into adulthood suggests it serves important functions beyond just developing skills. Play may help maintain cognitive flexibility, strengthen social bonds, and provide stress relief. The fact that parrots seek out play, even when all their physical needs are met, indicates that psychological needs, the need for stimulation, novelty, and fun, are also important. A parrot that plays is likely a parrot that's thriving, not just surviving. Parrots can hold grudges and remember individuals for years. Parrot memory is impressive. They remember individuals, both other parrots and humans, for years or even decades. If someone treated a parrot badly, the bird may remember and remain wary or aggressive toward that person for life. Conversely, they remember kind treatment, forming lasting positive associations with people who have treated them well. This memory influences their social behavior. Parrots track their social relationships over time, remembering who can be trusted and who should be avoided. In the wild, this helps them navigate complex flock dynamics. In captivity, it means that gaining a parrot's trust requires patience and consistency, but once earned, that trust can last a lifetime. It also means that rehoming, or changes in circumstance, can be deeply stressful for parrots who remember and may grieve their previous situations. Sleep and rest. Parrots require consistent sleep schedules for physical and mental health. Like humans, parrots need regular, adequate sleep. In the wild, they follow natural light cycles, becoming active at dawn and roosting at dusk. Most parrot species need 10 to 12 hours of sleep each night. Without sufficient sleep, they become irritable, their immune systems weaken, and they may develop behavioral problems like excessive screaming or feather plucking. In captivity, maintaining proper sleep schedules can be challenging. Artificial lighting extends the day unnaturally. Household activity and noise continue into evening hours. Pet parrots may not get the darkness and quiet they need for restful sleep. Responsible owners provide dark, quiet sleeping areas and maintain consistent schedules, recognizing that sleep isn't optional but essential for parrot well-being. Many parrots sleep standing on one foot with their head tucked under a wing. Watch a sleeping parrot and you'll often see it balancing on one foot, the other tucked up into its feathers. Its head is turned and tucked under the wing on its back, creating a cozy sleeping posture that conserves heat and provides comfort. This position might seem precarious, but parrots have remarkable balance. Even while asleep, their grip on the perch remaining secure. Sleeping on one foot may help regulate body temperature. By tucking one foot into warm feathers, the parrot reduces heat loss through the unfeathered skin of the foot. Alternating which foot is tucked up allows both feet to warm periodically. This adaptation is particularly useful in cooler nighttime temperatures. The tucked head position also insulates the head and beak, areas that could lose heat quickly if exposed. Parrots may take brief naps during the day, in addition to nighttime sleep. While most of their sleep occurs at night, parrots may doze briefly during the day, especially during hot midday hours, when activity is reduced. These naps are lighter than nighttime sleep, with the parrot remaining somewhat alert to its surroundings. In the wild, napping during the heat of the day conserves energy and avoids the stress of activity during temperature extremes. In captivity, daytime napping can indicate either healthy rest or potential health problems. A parrot that naps occasionally, while also remaining active and engaged, is likely fine. However, excessive daytime sleeping, especially if accompanied by fluffed feathers and reduced appetite, may signal illness. Understanding what's normal for an individual parrot helps caregivers recognize when something might be wrong. Some species roost communally, sleeping together in large groups. While many parrots sleep in pairs or small family groups, some species form large communal roosts, containing hundreds or even thousands of birds. These gatherings occur at specific sites used night after night, sometimes for generations. Birds arrive in waves as evening approaches, calling loudly as they settle onto their perches, creating a spectacular display. Communal roosting provides several benefits. Many birds together generate heat, helping everyone stay warmer on cold nights. The group offers protection from predators, with many alert individuals more likely to detect threats than a solitary bird. Roost sites also serve as information exchanges, where parrots can learn from others about food sources discovered during the day. These gatherings are social events, maintaining bonds within the broader parrot community. Communication beyond words. Parrots use body language extensively to communicate intentions and emotions. While vocalizations get the most attention, parrots also communicate through posture and movement. An excited parrot may fluff its feathers and pin its eyes, rapidly contracting and dilating its pupils. A frightened parrot flattens its feathers tight against its body, making itself smaller. An aggressive parrot may raise its crest, if it has one, spread its wings, and lean forward, making itself appear larger and more threatening. Understanding these signals is crucial for anyone interacting with parrots. A parrot displaying aggressive body language is warning that it may bite if approached. A parrot grinding its beak softly is content and relaxed. A parrot with ruffled feathers sitting still may be ill. Each posture and gesture conveys information, creating a rich nonverbal language that supplements their vocalizations. Learning to read parrot body language allows deeper communication and helps prevent misunderstandings. Beak grinding often indicates contentment as parrots prepare for sleep. One of the more endearing parrot behaviors is beak grinding, a soft, gentle scraping sound made by rubbing the upper and lower mandibles together. This behavior typically occurs when parrots are relaxed and content, often just before they settle into sleep. The sound is subtle, almost like a purr, and hearing it from your parrot is reassuring, a sign that they feel safe and comfortable. The exact purpose of beak grinding isn't entirely clear. It may help maintain the beak, filing down rough edges and keeping it properly shaped. It may also simply be soothing, a self-comforting behavior similar to a cat's purring. Whatever its original function, beak grinding has become a reliable indicator of a parrot's emotional state, one of the small signals that together paint a picture of their inner experience. Parrots may display regurgitation as a sign of affection and bonding. In parrot society, regurgitation is an intimate gesture. Parents regurgitate food to feed their chicks, and bonded mates regurgitate to each other as a form of courtship and pair bonding. When a pet parrot regurgitates for a human, it's extending this behavior to its human companion, treating them as a mate or cherished family member. While the behavior is endearing in its intention, it can create challenges in pet situations. A parrot that becomes sexually bonded to a human may become possessive, aggressive toward others, and frustrated that its advances aren't reciprocated in ways it understands. Managing this behavior requires discouraging the regurgitation response, while still providing appropriate social interaction and affection. Understanding the behavior's meaning helps caregivers respond appropriately. Feather displays and movements signal mood and social status. Parrots use their feathers like flags, raising and lowering them to signal their state and intentions. Crests, found in cockatoos and some other species, are particularly expressive. A raised crest can indicate excitement, surprise, or alarm depending on context. Some parrots fan their tail feathers in displays, making themselves more visible and impressive. These displays serve multiple functions. They can attract mates, intimidate rivals, or simply express excitement. The physical act of raising feathers also has physiological effects, helping regulate temperature or prepare for action. By observing which feathers are raised and how, along with other body language and vocalizations, you can build a picture of what a parrot is feeling and intending, a window into their emotional world. Ecological roles. Parrots serve as important seed dispersers in tropical ecosystems. When parrots feed on fruits, they often swallow seeds whole or drop them at a distance from the parent tree. Seeds that pass through their digestive systems may actually germinate better than seeds that simply fall to the ground. By moving seeds away from parent trees, parrots help plant species colonize new areas and maintain genetic diversity across populations. Some tree species may depend heavily or even exclusively on parrots for seed dispersal. If parrot populations decline, these plants may also suffer, unable to reproduce effectively. This interdependence means that conserving parrots isn't just about the birds themselves, but about maintaining the functioning of entire ecosystems. Parrots are woven into the fabric of tropical forests, their presence essential for the health of the whole system. Some parrots act as pollinators for specific plant species. While most birds pollinate only incidentally, some parrot species have evolved more specialized pollination relationships. Lories and lorikeets, with their brush-tipped tongues and nectar-feeding habits, are effective pollinators. As they move from flower to flower, feeding on nectar, pollen adheres to their heads and is transferred to the next bloom they visit. Certain plants have evolved flowers that seem designed for parrot pollination, matching the size and shape of parrot beaks and heads. These plants may bloom when parrots need the nectar most, creating mutually beneficial relationships. The parrot gets food, the plant gets pollination services. Such relationships show how species can become partners through evolution, each shaping the other over countless generations. Parrots help control insect populations through their varied diet. While seeds and fruits dominate parrot diets, many species also consume insects, especially during breeding season, when protein needs increase for growing chicks. By eating caterpillars, beetles, and other insects, parrots help regulate insect populations. While they're not specialists like insectivorous birds, their contribution to pest control is nonetheless valuable. This dietary flexibility also helps parrots themselves. When fruits are scarce, insects provide an alternative food source. The ability to switch between food types, depending on availability, is part of what makes parrots successful in environments where resources fluctuate seasonally. Their adaptability in diet reflects their intelligence and problem-solving abilities, traits that serve them well in dynamic tropical ecosystems. Cavity-nesting parrots create homes that other species later use. When parrots excavate nest cavities, they create resources that persist long after they've finished using them. These cavities become potential homes for other cavity-nesting species: bees, bats, other birds, and small mammals. By creating these structures, parrots increase habitat complexity and support biodiversity. Some parrot species use the same cavity for years, maintaining and expanding it. Others excavate new cavities each year. Either way, their nesting activities shape their habitats. In forests where dead standing trees are limited, these cavities can be crucial for many species. Parrots thus act as ecosystem engineers, organisms whose activities create or modify habitats in ways that affect other species. Remarkable abilities. Some parrots can live for more than 80 years in captivity. The longevity of parrots is truly remarkable. While most animals their size live a few years at best, large parrots can live for many decades. Cockatoos, macaws, and Amazon parrots regularly reach 50 years, and some verified individuals have lived into their 80s. This makes them some of the longest-lived birds in the world, comparable to some of the longest-lived mammals. This extraordinary lifespan raises interesting questions. What allows parrots to live so long? Their relatively large brains, complex social lives, and flexible behaviors may contribute to longevity. In the wild, living longer allows them to accumulate knowledge about food sources, social relationships, and survival strategies, which they can then pass to younger birds. Their longevity is both a remarkable trait and a serious consideration for anyone thinking of bringing a parrot into their home. Parrots possess remarkable spatial memory for locating food sources. In tropical forests, fruit trees don't all ripen simultaneously. Parrots must remember the locations of many trees and track which are likely to have ripe fruit at different times. Studies have shown that parrots have excellent spatial memory, able to remember the locations of hundreds of trees across their home range and revisit them at appropriate intervals. This cognitive map of their environment allows efficient foraging. Rather than searching randomly, parrots make directed flights to likely food sources. They adjust their foraging patterns seasonally as different species come into fruit. This requires not just memory, but also an understanding of temporal patterns, knowing that certain trees bear fruit in certain months. Such sophisticated navigation and planning reflects the high cognitive demands of their lifestyle. Some species show evidence of using numerical concepts. Research into parrot cognition has revealed abilities previously thought unique to primates. Some parrots can compare quantities, understanding which of two groups contains more objects. They can perform simple addition, predicting the combined total when two groups are joined. The famous African grey ilex could count up to 6 and understood 0 as representing absence. These numerical abilities likely evolved to serve practical purposes. Counting may help parrots assess group sizes when deciding whether to join a flock. Quantity discrimination helps when choosing between food sources. Even if parrots don't do mathematics as we understand it, they clearly have some grasp of numerical concepts, more evidence of their sophisticated minds. Parrots can learn to use symbolic communication systems. Beyond mimicking speech, some parrots have learned to use symbols to communicate. In research settings, parrots have been taught to associate shapes or pictures with objects, actions, or concepts. They can then use these symbols to request items, answer questions, or describe things they see. This demonstrates understanding that symbols can represent other things, a form of abstract thinking. Alex, the African grey, for example, learned to use English words as functional labels. When shown an object, he could tell you its color, shape, and material. If shown multiple objects, he could tell you which was bigger or what was the same or different about them. He wasn't just repeating memorized phrases, but using language as a tool for communication. This capacity for symbolic communication places parrots among a very small group of animals capable of such abstract thought. Diversity in size and form. The smallest parrots weigh less than half an ounce. At the tiny end of the spectrum, buff-faced pygmy parrots and other pygmy species tip the scales at barely more than 10 grams, less than half an ounce. These diminutive parrots are smaller than many songbirds, yet they possess all the features that define parrots. Their small size allows them to exploit food sources and nest sites unavailable to larger species, finding niches in the forest where they face less competition. Despite their size, pygmy parrots exhibit typical parrot behaviors. They use their beaks to climb. They vocalize to communicate with mates and defend territories. They form pair bonds and rear chicks together. Size is just one variable in the parrot family, and evolution has produced species across a remarkable size range, each adapted to its particular lifestyle and environment. The largest parrots can weigh over 3 pounds and stand 2 feet tall. At the opposite extreme, the hyacinth, macaw, and kakapo rank as the largest parrots. Hyacinth macaws, with their long tails, can measure over 3 feet from beak to tail tip, though much of this is tail. The kakapo, being flightless, is heavier and more robust, truly a giant among parrots. These large species require substantial food resources and spacious territories to support their bulk. Size comes with trade-offs. Large parrots reproduce slowly, producing fewer offspring and taking longer to reach maturity. They need more food and are more conspicuous to predators and humans. In a world where habitats are shrinking, being large can be a disadvantage. Both hyacinth macaws and kakapos have faced severe population declines, partly because their size and slow reproduction make recovery difficult once numbers drop. Beak shape varies dramatically across species, reflecting different diets. Look at different parrot species, and you'll notice substantial variation in beak size and shape. Thick-billed parrots have massive, powerful beaks for crushing tough pine nuts. Hanging parrots have slender, delicate beaks, suited for feeding on soft fruits and nectar. Macaws possess enormous beaks, capable of cracking palm nuts, that would resist smaller species. Each beak is a tool shaped by evolution for the foods that species specializes in eating. This diversity in beak morphology is a form of niche partitioning. Different species can coexist in the same forest because they eat different things, enabled by their specialized beaks. The result is a community of parrots, each with its role, together exploiting the full range of foods the forest offers. Beak shape is thus key to understanding parrot ecology and the remarkable diversity of the parrot family. Tail length and shape also vary, aiding different flight styles. Parrot tails range from the short, squared tails of some Amazon parrots to the extraordinarily long, elegant tails of macaws. These differences aren't just aesthetic but functional. Long tails provide maneuverability, acting like rudders that help birds make tight turns and precise movements. Short tails reduce drag and may be advantageous for rapid, direct flight through dense vegetation. Tail shape also plays roles in display. Males of some species use their tails in courtship, fanning them to appear larger and more impressive. The evolution of tail form reflects a balance between aerodynamic efficiency, maneuverability, and sexual selection. Each species has arrived at the tail design that best serves its particular needs, adding to the remarkable variety within the parrot family. Cultural significance. Parrots hold deep cultural significance in many indigenous traditions. For peoples who have lived alongside parrots for millennia, these birds are more than just wildlife. They appear in creation stories, serve as clan symbols, and feature in rituals and ceremonies. Their bright feathers have been used in ceremonial dress, headdresses, and decorations, prized for their beauty and rarity. In some cultures, parrots are seen as messengers or symbols of the divine. These traditional relationships often embody respect and sustainability. Indigenous peoples developed practices for using parrot feathers that didn't threaten populations, collecting molted feathers or using feathers from birds hunted for food. The deep knowledge these cultures hold about parrot behavior and ecology, accumulated over generations, offers insights that modern science is only now beginning to appreciate. Traditional ecological knowledge and scientific understanding together provide a fuller picture of parrots and their worlds. Some languages contain words specifically for different parrot calls. The importance of parrots in some cultures is reflected in language itself. Certain indigenous languages have specific words for different types of parrot vocalizations, distinguishing alarm calls from contact calls, from courtship displays. This linguistic precision reflects careful observation and the importance of parrots in the daily lives of these peoples. Such detailed vocabularies show how deeply integrated parrots are into cultural frameworks. Just as Arctic peoples have numerous words for different types of snow, peoples living with parrots have developed rich vocabularies to describe these birds and their behaviors. Language shapes perception, and having specific words for parrot calls likely heightened awareness and understanding. Knowledge passed down through language from generation to generation. Modern conservation efforts often incorporate traditional knowledge. As conservation has evolved, practitioners have increasingly recognized the value of working with local and indigenous communities. These peoples often have intimate knowledge of parrot ecology and can contribute insights about habitat requirements, behavior patterns, and population trends that outsiders might miss. Their support is also crucial for conservation success. Effective conservation programs thus blend scientific approaches with traditional knowledge and local participation. Community-based conservation initiatives that provide economic benefits to local people create incentives for protection rather than exploitation. When communities see parrots as valuable assets worth preserving, conservation has a much better chance of succeeding. This collaborative approach respects both the parrots and the people who share their landscapes, health, and physiology. Parrots have highly efficient respiratory systems for active lifestyles. Like all birds, parrots possess a respiratory system very different from mammals. In addition to lungs, they have air sacs throughout their bodies. These sacs allow air to flow through the lungs in one direction, meaning that both inhalation and exhalation bring fresh air across gas exchange surfaces. This system is far more efficient than mammalian breathing, providing the oxygen needed for the high metabolic demands of flight. This efficiency comes with vulnerabilities. The air sacs connect to hollow bones and other body spaces, meaning respiratory infections can spread more readily through a parrot's body. Parrots are also sensitive to airborne toxins. Substances that might only irritate mammals can be deadly to parrots. This is why smoke, aerosols, and fumes from non-stick cookware are so dangerous to them. Their efficient respiratory system, an adaptation for flight, becomes a liability in environments with poor air quality. Parrots can regulate their body temperature through behavior and physiology. Maintaining proper body temperature is crucial for survival. Parrots are endothermic, generating heat internally to maintain a consistent body temperature around 104 degrees Fahrenheit. In cold weather, they fluff their feathers to trap insulating air. They may shiver to generate heat or tuck one foot up to reduce heat loss through unfeathered legs. In hot weather, parrots face the opposite challenge. They pant, rapidly moving air over moist surfaces in their respiratory system to cool through evaporation. They hold their wings away from their bodies to increase air circulation. They seek shade and reduce activity during the hottest parts of the day. These behavioral thermoregulation strategies help them cope with temperature extremes, though prolonged exposure to unsuitable temperatures can be dangerous. Molting is energetically costly and can affect parrot behavior. Growing new feathers requires substantial energy and nutrients. During heavy molts, parrots may become less active, more irritable, and more hungry as their bodies redirect resources to feather production. The process can be uncomfortable, with new pin feathers emerging through the skin causing itchiness. Parrots may be more sensitive to touch during molts and appreciate extra gentle handling. For pet parrots, supporting healthy molting requires proper nutrition, particularly protein and specific amino acids needed for feather growth. Baths or misting can soothe itchy new feathers. Understanding that molting affects behavior helps caregivers be patient when their parrot seems grumpier than usual. It's a natural process that all parrots must undergo regularly to maintain their plumage. Parrots lack vocal cords and produce sounds using their syrinx. Unlike mammals that produce sounds using vocal cords in the larynx, birds use an organ called the syrinx, located where the trachea splits into the bronchi, leading to each lung. The syrinx contains membranes that vibrate when air passes over them, producing sound. In parrots, the syrinx is particularly well developed and flexible, allowing the production of complex vocalizations. The syrinx's location deep in the body, along with the parrot's control over airflow and pressure, enables them to produce sounds continuously without needing to coordinate with breathing in the way mammals do. This is why parrots can vocalize so elaborately and why their mimicry can be so precise. They have exceptional control over their syrinx, allowing them to reproduce a wider range of sounds than most other birds. Parrot intelligence studies. Researchers use various tests to assess parrot cognitive abilities. Understanding animal intelligence requires careful, controlled testing. Researchers have developed numerous experiments to probe parrot cognition. Object permanence tests assess whether parrots understand that hidden objects continue to exist. Tool use experiments examine problem-solving abilities. Delayed gratification tests measure self-control. Each test reveals different aspects of cognitive capability. What makes parrot studies particularly interesting is how well they perform compared to other animals. In many cognitive tests, parrots score similarly to great apes, animals with much larger brains. This suggests that cognitive ability isn't just about brain size, but about brain organization and the types of intelligence different species evolved. Parrots' success in these tests has forced scientists to reconsider assumptions about which animals are smart and what intelligence really means. Mirror self-recognition suggests a degree of self-awareness in some parrots. One classic test of animal self-awareness is the mirror test. An animal is marked with a spot it cannot see without a mirror, then given access to its reflection. If the animal uses the mirror to examine the mark on itself, rather than treating the reflection as another animal, this suggests self-awareness. Some parrot species, including African greys and some macaws, have passed this test. Self-awareness is considered a sophisticated cognitive ability. It requires understanding that the reflection is oneself rather than another individual. Only a handful of animal species, including great apes, elephants, dolphins, and some birds, have demonstrated this capability. That parrots can do so places them in elite cognitive company. It suggests an inner life more complex than we once imagined, a sense of self as a distinct entity in the world. Parrots can understand abstract concepts like same and different. Teaching animals to recognize specific objects is relatively straightforward. Teaching them abstract concepts is much harder. Yet parrots have demonstrated understanding of same and different. When shown two objects, they can indicate whether they're the same or different, even with objects they've never seen before. This means they've grasped the underlying concept, not just memorized specific examples. This ability to abstract and generalize is a hallmark of higher intelligence. It allows learning from one situation to be applied to new situations. In the wild, this might help parrots recognize categories of edible versus inedible foods, or safe versus dangerous situations, without needing to learn each instance individually. The capacity for abstract thought gives parrots flexibility in responding to their ever-changing environments. Some parrots have demonstrated understanding of object permanence. Object permanence, knowing that objects continue to exist even when out of sight, develops in human infants around 8 months of age. In tests, parrots have shown they understand this concept. If food is hidden under a cup, they remember which cup and search there. If they watch food moved from one hiding spot to another, they search in the new location, not the original one. This ability is essential for intelligent behavior. Without understanding object permanence, an animal cannot plan, cannot hide food for later, cannot search effectively for hidden items. That parrots possess this understanding indicate sophisticated mental representations of their world. They don't just respond to immediate stimuli, but maintain mental models of their environment, including things not currently visible. Threats and challenges. Deforestation remains the primary threat to most wild parrot populations. Across the tropics, forests are being cleared at alarming rates for agriculture, logging, and development. As trees fall, parrots lose both their food sources and nesting sites. Species that require old-growth forest with large cavity trees are particularly vulnerable. Once forests are fragmented or cleared, they cannot support the same parrot populations, and numbers decline. Stopping deforestation is thus critical for parrot conservation. This requires addressing complex issues of economic development, land rights, and agricultural practices. Some progress has been made through protected areas, sustainable forestry, and economic alternatives that make standing forests valuable. But the pressure to clear land remains intense in many regions. Without forests, there can be no forest parrots, making habitat protection the foundation of all conservation efforts. Climate change alters habitats and food availability for parrots. As global temperatures rise, the environments parrots depend on are changing. Rainfall patterns shift, affecting when and where food is available. Extreme weather events become more frequent and severe. Mountain species adapted to cool temperatures find their habitats shrinking as climate zones move upward. Coastal areas face sea level rise and increased storm intensity. Parrots may struggle to adapt quickly enough. Evolution works over thousands of generations, but climate is changing within decades. Some species may be able to shift their ranges, following suitable climate to new areas. Others, particularly island species or those in fragmented habitats, have nowhere to go. Climate change adds another layer of threat to already stressed populations, making conservation even more urgent and challenging. Introduced predators have devastated island parrot populations. Many islands originally lacked mammalian predators. Parrots evolved in these safe environments, sometimes losing defensive behaviors or even the ability to fly. Then humans arrived, bringing rats, cats, mongooses, and other predators. These introduced species found naive prey, birds that hadn't evolved to recognize or escape them. The results were often catastrophic, with parrot populations plummeting or disappearing entirely. Island conservation now often focuses on predator control or eradication. Removing introduced predators from islands can allow native species to recover. New Zealand has pioneered this approach, creating predator-free islands where endangered parrots can breed safely. While technically difficult and expensive, predator eradication has proven successful in numerous cases. For island parrots, freedom from introduced predators may be the difference between extinction and survival. Disease can devastate parrot populations with no prior exposure. Diseases introduced to new areas can have devastating impacts on populations with no immunity. Avian diseases, like psittacine beak and feather disease, spread by a virus, can sweep through parrot populations. Parrots in the wild face these threats, along with the stresses of habitat loss and climate change, which can weaken immune systems and make disease outbreaks more severe. In captivity, disease control requires strict biosecurity. Quarantine protocols for new birds, regular health checks, and prompt treatment of sick individuals help prevent outbreaks. For wild populations, disease is harder to manage. Monitoring population health, understanding disease ecology, and minimizing stress factors that increase susceptibility all play roles. Disease adds another dimension to the challenge of keeping parrots thriving in a changing world. Relationships with other species. Some parrots nest near wasps or bees for protection from predators. In the constant arms race between predators and prey, some parrots have found creative solutions. Certain species deliberately nest in trees that host wasp or bee colonies. These stinging insects are aggressive in defending their nests, attacking any perceived threat. By nesting nearby, parrots gain protection, as predators that might raid parrot nests learn to avoid the area. This strategy requires tolerance for close proximity to potentially dangerous insects. The parrots learn where the wasp nests are and avoid disturbing them, while the wasps provide an effective deterrent to snakes, monkeys, and other nest predators. It's an example of how species can benefit from each other without direct cooperation, simply by being nearby. The parrots haven't formed a partnership with the wasps. They've learned to exploit the wasps' territorial behavior for their own protection. Parrots may follow monkey troops to feed on fruits the monkeys drop. In tropical forests, parrots sometimes associate with troops of monkeys. As monkeys move through the canopy feeding on fruits, they're often messy eaters, dropping partially eaten fruits or knocking them loose. Parrots follow below, feeding on these dropped fruits. This behavior allows them to access food more easily than searching for it themselves. This relationship is commensalism, where one species benefits while the other is neither helped nor harmed. The monkeys don't gain anything from the parrot's presence, but they're not harmed either. The parrots get an easier meal. Such relationships show how forest animals can become interconnected, their behaviors and movements influencing one another, even without direct interaction. The forest is a community, and understanding it requires seeing these webs of connection. Cavity competition with other animals can limit parrot breeding success. Suitable nesting cavities are often scarce, and parrots aren't the only animals that need them. Woodpeckers, hornbills, bats, bees, and various mammals all compete for tree holes. In some forests, the shortage of cavities limits how many parrots can breed successfully. Pairs that cannot find suitable nest sites may not breed that year, or they may attempt to use suboptimal cavities where eggs and chicks are more vulnerable. This competition highlights the importance of old-growth forests, with large, dead, or dying trees that provide cavities. Forestry practices that remove dead wood thus inadvertently harm cavity nesting species. Conservation strategies increasingly recognize the need to preserve these snag trees as critical habitat features. For parrots, a hole in a tree isn't just a convenience, it's an absolute necessity for reproduction. Some parrots benefit from forest disturbances that create feeding opportunities. While parrots are often associated with intact forests, some species actually benefit from certain types of disturbance. When storms knock down trees or create gaps in the canopy, pioneer plant species colonize these openings. Many pioneers produce abundant seeds or fruits, creating bonanzas for seed-eating parrots. Some parrot species specifically seek out these disturbed areas to feed. This doesn't mean habitat destruction is good for parrots. Natural disturbances are small-scale and temporary, with forests regenerating relatively quickly. Large-scale clearing creates conditions too altered to support forest parrots. But the fact that some species can exploit natural disturbances shows their adaptability. They're not rigidly tied to one specific forest condition but can respond to changing circumstances, a flexibility that serves them well in dynamic tropical ecosystems. Parrot longevity records. The oldest known parrot in captivity lived for more than 80 years. Among documented records, several parrots have reached extraordinary ages. Cockatoos seem particularly long-lived, with multiple individuals verified to have lived past 80 years. These birds outlive not only most animals, but many humans, witnessing generations of people come and go. Their longevity means they can accumulate vast experience, learning continuously throughout their extended lives. Such extreme longevity raises both wonder and ethical questions. Committing to care for an animal that may live 80 years is a responsibility spanning a human lifetime. Plans must be made for the parrot's care should the owner die first. The bond that forms over decades is profound, and the loss when the parrot finally passes is correspondingly deep. These long-lived birds become family members in the truest sense, present through major life events and transitions. Wild parrots likely live shorter lives than captive ones due to predation and disease. While captive parrots can live many decades in controlled environments with veterinary care and consistent food, wild parrots face hazards that reduce average lifespans. Predation takes a toll, especially on younger birds still learning to avoid danger. Disease, food shortages, and harsh weather claim others. Accidents happen. Birds collide with obstacles or are injured in territorial disputes. Despite these dangers, some wild parrots do achieve impressive ages. Banded birds have been recaptured decades after initial banding, proving that even in the wild, parrots can live 20, 30, or more years if they survive the vulnerable early period. Those that reach maturity and establish territories with mates likely live for many years, accumulating knowledge and experience that helps them thrive. The oldest wild individuals are likely fonts of wisdom for their communities. The future of parrots. Conservation efforts have brought some species back from the brink. While the challenges facing parrots are serious, there are reasons for hope. Dedicated conservation programs have achieved remarkable successes. The Mauritius parakeet, reduced to fewer than 10 individuals in the 1980s, now numbers in the hundreds, thanks to intensive management. The Puerto Rican parrot has recovered from just 13 wild birds to a population slowly growing across multiple sites. These successes prove that extinction is not inevitable. What these recoveries required was sustained effort over decades. Protecting habitat, controlling predators, breeding birds in captivity for release, supplementing nests to increase breeding success, all of these techniques working together have brought species back. The work continues, as recovered populations still need monitoring and protection, but each success story provides hope and valuable lessons that can be applied to other threatened species. With commitment and resources, we can ensure parrots have futures. Ecotourism provides economic incentives for parrot conservation. In regions where wild parrots persist, ecotourism has emerged as a way to make conservation economically viable. Tourists travel from around the world to see parrots in their natural habitats, bringing money to local communities. When parrots alive in the wild are more valuable than parrots captured for trade or forests cleared for farming, people have incentives to protect them. Successful ecotourism requires careful management to avoid disturbing parrots while providing visitors with meaningful experiences. Well-designed programs benefit parrots, local people, and visitors. Communities that once hunted parrots now guide birdwatchers to viewing sites. Former poachers become park rangers. These transformations show how changing economic incentives can lead to changed behaviors. Making conservation profitable makes it sustainable. Captive breeding programs serve as insurance populations for endangered species. For the most threatened parrot species, captive populations serve as insurance against extinction in the wild. If wild populations disappear, captive birds preserve the species and can potentially be reintroduced once threats are addressed. Many zoos and specialized breeding facilities maintain these populations, carefully managing genetics to maintain healthy, diverse populations. Captive breeding is not a substitute for protecting wild populations. Birds in cages no matter how well cared for, are not truly wild. They don't play their ecological roles in forests. Their behaviors may change in captivity, but as a last resort, captive breeding has prevented several parrot species from disappearing entirely. It buys time, allowing conservation efforts to address the threats, while ensuring the species survives to see potentially brighter futures. Education and awareness are crucial for changing attitudes toward parrots. Long-term parrot conservation requires changing how people view and treat these birds. Education programs in schools teach children about parrots and their importance. Media coverage raises awareness of threats and conservation efforts. When people understand that parrots are intelligent, long-lived, and vulnerable, they're more likely to support protection measures and make choices that help rather than harm parrots. Awareness campaigns also address the pet trade, informing potential owners about parrot needs and the importance of choosing responsibly bred birds. They encourage people to report illegal trade and support conservation organizations. Building a culture that values parrots and their wild habitats creates the social foundation conservation needs. Every person who learns about parrots and cares about their future becomes part of the solution. Technology is aiding parrot conservation in new ways. Modern technology offers tools previous generations of conservationists lacked. Camera traps and drones help researchers monitor remote populations without disturbing them. GPS tracking reveals movement patterns and habitat use. Bioacoustics allows identification of individual birds by their calls. Genetic analysis helps understand population, structure, and guides breeding programs. Social media and online platforms help spread conservation messages and mobilize support. Crowdfunding allows people worldwide to contribute to conservation projects. Apps help birdwatchers report sightings, building databases of parrot distribution and movements. These technologies don't replace traditional conservation work, but enhance it, making efforts more efficient and effective. As technology advances, new possibilities emerge for understanding and protecting parrots. Protecting parrots means protecting entire ecosystems. When we work to save parrots, we're not just saving one type of bird. We're protecting the forests they inhabit, the trees they depend on, and all the other species that share their homes. Parrots can serve as flagship species, charismatic animals that attract attention and support for broader conservation efforts. Protecting parrot habitat protects countless other species that might not capture public imagination as readily as colorful, intelligent parrots. This umbrella effect means parrot conservation benefits entire ecosystems. The forests preserved for parrots provide services to humans too: clean water, carbon storage, climate regulation, and more. By focusing on parrots, we create motivation to protect nature more broadly. Every parrot that finds safe habitat, every forest that remains standing, represents a victory not just for that species, but for the web of life it's part of. The wonder of parrots. Parrots have captivated humans for millennia with their beauty and intelligence. From the earliest human cultures that shared landscapes with parrots, these birds have fascinated us. Their brilliant colors catch the eye. Their intelligence challenges us. Their ability to mimic our speech creates connections that feel almost magical. Across cultures and throughout history, parrots have held special places in human imagination, featured in art, mythology, and daily life. This long relationship continues today. Whether wild parrots glimpsed in their native forests or companions sharing our homes, they captivate with their personalities and abilities. Each parrot is an individual, with its own preferences, quirks, and ways of interacting with the world. To know parrots is to gain appreciation for minds very different from our own, yet recognizable in their curiosity, playfulness, and emotional depth. Every parrot species has unique characteristics and adaptations. With nearly 400 species, the parrot family showcases nature's creativity. Each species tells its own evolutionary story, shaped by its particular environment and lifestyle. Some are common and widespread, others rare and specialized. Some are bold and conspicuous, others secretive and cryptic. Together, they demonstrate the many ways to be a parrot, the diverse solutions evolution has found to the challenges of life. Learning about this diversity reveals the richness of the natural world. Each species has value, whether as part of its ecosystem, as subject of scientific study, or simply for its own sake. The existence of so many kinds of parrots, each beautiful and interesting in its own way, is part of what makes Earth such a remarkable planet. They're treasures we're fortunate to share the world with. Observing parrots in the wild is a profound experience. To stand in a forest and watch wild parrots fly overhead, calling to each other, is to witness nature in its full glory. The colors flash past, brilliant against green foliage. The calls echo through the canopy, complex and musical. The social interactions play out, the bonds between mates, the squabbles over food, the coordination of the flock. These moments connect us to something ancient and essential, life thriving in its natural patterns. Such experiences remind us what we stand to lose if conservation fails. They also inspire commitment to ensuring future generations can have the same experiences. Wild parrots are part of Earth's heritage, evolved over millions of years. They have value beyond what they provide humans. They have the right to exist for their own sake. Protecting them is both practical and ethical, ensuring ecosystems function and honoring the intrinsic worth of all life. Parrots remind us of the intelligence and emotion in non-human animals. As science reveals more about parrot cognition and emotional lives, we're challenged to reconsider our relationship with the natural world. Parrots are not simple instinct-driven creatures, but thinking, feeling beings with inner experiences. They remember, they plan, they form relationships, they experience joy and fear, and perhaps much more we're only beginning to understand. Recognizing this intelligence and emotion creates ethical obligations. We must ensure their well-being, whether in the wild or in our care. We must protect their habitats and their freedoms. We must treat them with respect and compassion. Parrots show us that we share the world with other minds, different from ours but no less real. This recognition can transform how we see and treat all animals, fostering a more compassionate relationship with nature. The sound of parrots calling is one of the quintessential sounds of the tropics. In forests where parrots live, their voices are part of the soundscape. The loud, harsh calls of macaws, the chattering of conures, the melodious whistles of some species. These sounds carry through the trees, announcing the parrot's presence and activities. For people who live in these regions, parrot calls are as familiar as traffic sounds are to city dwellers, part of the daily acoustic environment. For visitors, these sounds are exotic and thrilling, instant signals that they're somewhere wild and tropical. Hearing wild parrots for the first time can be an unforgettable moment. The calls remind us that the world is still wild in places, still home to creatures living their lives according to ancient patterns. As long as we can hear parrots calling in forests, there's hope, evidence that nature persists, that wilderness endures. Parrots symbolize freedom and wildness in their ability to fly. Few things capture the essence of freedom quite like watching parrots in flight. Their powerful wing beats carry them swiftly through the air. They wheel and turn with grace, moving as individuals yet coordinated as a flock. They fly where they choose, answering to nothing but their own needs and desires. This freedom is fundamental to what parrots are, to their nature as wild creatures. When parrots lose the ability to fly, whether through wing clipping in captivity or as an evolutionary adaptation like the kakapo, something essential is lost. Flight is not just locomotion, but a defining characteristic, central to parrot identity. A parrot that cannot fly is still a parrot, but it is one constrained, its possibilities limited. Protecting wild parrots means protecting their freedom to fly through their natural habitats, following the patterns their species have followed for countless generations. Each parrot has individual personality and preferences. Just as no two humans are identical, no two parrots are identical. Even within the same species, individuals vary in temperament, preferences, and behavior. Some parrots are bold and outgoing, others shy and cautious. Some are playful clowns, others dignified and reserved. They develop unique relationships with their companions and unique approaches to challenges they face. This individuality means that understanding parrots requires seeing them not as interchangeable representatives of their species, but as unique beings. Each has its own story, its own experiences shaping its personality and behavior. In captivity, successful relationships between humans and parrots depend on respecting this individuality, learning what each particular bird enjoys and needs. In the wild, researchers studying parrots increasingly recognize individuals, tracking their life stories, and seeing how individual differences affect survival and reproduction. Closing thoughts. And so, dear listener, our journey through the world of parrots comes to a gentle close. We've soared alongside them through tropical forests, watched them crack nuts with powerful beaks, and marveled at their intelligence and emotional depth. We've seen the challenges they face and the efforts to protect them. We've learned of their diversity, from tiny pygmy parrots to magnificent macaws. We've glimpsed their inner lives, their memories, their relationships, their individual personalities. Parrots remind us that we share the world with remarkable creatures. They've evolved over millions of years, adapting to environments from rainforests to mountains, from islands to arid lands. They've developed intelligence that rivals our own in many ways. They've formed complex societies and intricate relationships. They've survived and thrived, and now they need our help to continue into the future. As you rest here, letting your breathing slow and deepen, picture yourself in a warm forest. The air is soft and humid. Sunlight filters through the canopy in dappled patterns. Somewhere above, parrots call to each other, their voices mixing with the buzz of insects and the rustle of leaves. A flash of color catches your eye as a parrot lands on a nearby branch, tilting its head to regard you with one bright eye. The parrot seems curious, unafraid. You watch each other for a moment, two intelligent beings meeting in the forest. Then the parrot calls once, a clear musical note, and launches into flight. It disappears into the green canopy, but its presence lingers. You feel grateful to have shared that moment, that connection across species. You feel hope that forests will remain where such encounters can happen, where parrots can live wild and free. Let that feeling of peace and hope carry you now. Let the images of colorful parrots soften into dreams. See them flying through endless forests, raising their young in safe nests, calling to each other as dawn breaks and evening falls. Know that somewhere in the world, these things are happening. Parrots are living their lives, continuing patterns ancient beyond memory. As your conscious thoughts drift away, let yourself become like a roosting parrot as day ends. Feel yourself settling onto your perch, tucking into a comfortable position. Your eyes grow heavy and close. The sounds around you fade into soft background noise. Your breathing slows to the gentle rhythm of sleep. You're safe, you're comfortable, you're ready to rest. Let go of any remaining tension. Release any thoughts still trying to hold your attention. There's nothing you need to do right now. Nowhere you need to be. This moment is for rest. This time is for sleep. Like parrots settling into their roosts as darkness falls, you settle into sleep as wakefulness falls away. Good night, dear listener. May your dreams be peaceful. May you sleep deeply and wake refreshed. And may the world always have parrots, bright and intelligent and free, enriching our planet with their presence. Sleep now, sleep well. The parrots will still be there when you wake, calling across forests, living their remarkable lives. Rest now, breathe slowly, drift gently, sleep.